Welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from the previous week. And I know usually if you follow our program, we get started in college football, or that way we're able to review everything you might have missed from Saturday. But we've got to talk about something terribly disgusting, something so awful. It could not wait till the end of the program. It could not wait till the second half of the program. It couldn't even be something that we let wait till we start talking about the NFL. That is right. We have to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now let's start with the lesser of the disgusting, terrible, awful things. We have to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week, they played the Los Angeles Rams in London. And I don't know that they played the Los Angeles Rams in London because they didn't show up. Los Angeles jumped out to a 21-0 lead immediately, and this tickled my fancy. I was like, you know what? Let me wander on over to this game and see what's going on. Are the Rams even playing against an NFL team? And the answer was no. No, they weren't. And they're going to let the Indianapolis Colts run away with the AFC South because I think there's a very crucial thing here. When Trevor Lawrence is on, and he hasn't been on that often this season, he is hot and cold, mostly cold. He's that cold that you've got to turn on the faucet about 15 minutes before you get into the shower to make sure it's lukewarm for you to get in. But outside of that, Trevor Lawrence at times can be hot. And he got a little hot in the second half, and I was baffled to see that not a single person on that Jacksonville Jaguars team outside of the defense can catch the football. And yes, I am including Travis Hunter in that defense. It is insane to me how many drop passes, how many passes bouncing off of hands there were in that football game. Absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford is lighting them up left and right, but it's okay because he's got the best receiver in the game. No, Puka Nacua was hurt the entire game. Puka Nacua missed the game. Now, Davante Adams is no slouch, but outside of Davante Adams, who really does Matthew Stafford have to throw to? Well, apparently rookies. He completed 2 touchdown passes to 2 rookies. 2 rookies made unbelievable catches. Meanwhile, Jacksonville Jaguars has what should be a loaded roster as far as their skill positions are concerned, and they can't catch the damn ball. So Trevor Lawrence, as much as he overthrows and throws it at feet and looks goofy back there, he was able to try to get them to some sort of acceptable position to score. Meanwhile, the skill position guys, Brian Thomas Jr., all of them were like, no, I don't want that ball. Get that ball out of here. I'm not going to catch that ball today. What do you think this is? An NFL game where I'm supposed to catch the ball so we can win? It was insane to me to watch a professional football team look so terrible. And then I turned on the Las Vegas Raiders game. Las Vegas Raiders played a division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, which normally you'd want to see them get up for. The Chiefs have been down this year. Meanwhile, they get Rashee Rice back. They get Xavier Worthy back. And all of a sudden, they are a powerhouse. Oh, and somehow we get Weekend at Bernie's with Travis Kelce's corpse, who's been on the field all season. And he makes some crazy appearances and is able to run again with those knees that don't tend to work at the beginning of the season or at the end. He's kind of a middle-of-the-season guy now. But the Raiders put up literally the worst performance I may have ever seen. And it shouldn't be that way because the Broncos got beat and let 60 points go in. But that's because the Dolphins kept scoring. In this game, the Las Vegas Raiders were literally so terrible that before the end of the third quarter, Gardner Minshew was in the game. Gardner Minshew came in. Like Andy Reid said, they've had enough. Throw in the towel for them. And it wasn't like, if he dies, he dies. It was, they literally threw in the towel for the Las Vegas Raiders. It was so bad that with something like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, the Kansas City Chiefs were taking knees and the Raiders were not calling timeouts. It was disgusting. The team was not trying. It's over for the Las Vegas Raiders. If you had hope, let it go, Elsa, because this is done. Whatever this experiment was, whatever Tom Brady magic you thought got sprinkled on this Las Vegas Raiders team, it's still the Las Vegas Raiders. It doesn't matter. What needs to happen is literally a complete rebuild with this franchise. From the ground up, this team is done. I don't want to see Geno Smith ever again. Get that guy out of my life. Yeah, he has a terrible offensive line. They can get out of my life too, because you can't run the ball with Gentry, so it doesn't matter. You can't run the ball when you're down 31 points immediately, so it doesn't matter what you think you might have or what you want to try. They don't have any wide receivers to speak of. Dante Thornton Jr., garbage. Okay? Jack Beck, ass. The whole team is awful right now as far as the Las Vegas Raiders are concerned. Max Crosby goes out, the whole defense falls apart. Like I've been saying for multiple weeks now, Max Crosby is the entire defense on the Las Vegas Raiders. No one else exists on that defense. Not a single soul. Not White, not the secondary. That team is literally the worst football team in the NFL. The worst. They need to have the number 1 draft pick. Not even the winless Jets are a worse team than the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders are absolutely, undeniably terrible. This football team needs to figure out what's going to go on for the next 5 years, because the fans are going to be miserable, because there is no meat to pick out on the bone except for Max Crosby. One player out of 22 starters is worth watching. One. This team is not exciting. Chip Kelly should never be in the NFL again, ever. He's a terrible OC. He's clearly lost. He was terrible at UCLA. He only won at Ohio State because they were absolutely loaded with athletes. This is the Chip Kelly experiment done. The Las Vegas Raiders experiment of let's just find a big name head coach is done. It is the team. It is an organization level failure that needs to be taken care of. It is time to clean house in Las Vegas, and it is time to move on, finally, to college football. Sorry, we move on to better things to get that gross taste out of your mouth. I'm sorry we had to lead with the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Rams against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm also, before we jump to college football, going to apologize for the first loser I gave you, the Buffalo Bills, who could not put up more than 14 points against a sad Atlanta Falcons team and could not stop them at all. McDermott, you came over as a defensive mastermind. You came over as somebody that had sniffed the Super Bowl. You came over as somebody that has an ability to take a great quarterback to the next level and help them win a Super Bowl. Well, that defense is trash. You have a great quarterback and you haven't smelled the Super Bowl just yet. All right, so let's just talk about the top 25 in college football last week. All right, I would like to welcome Nebraska to the top 20. Oh, nope, not Nebraska. Sorry, Matt Rule, you thought you were going to get that Penn State job? Get out of here, sir. You're not getting a Penn State job. You can't even beat Minnesota. All right? So, bye-bye. TJ Fleck just got your ass, I guess. So, you're done. Louisville said hello to the top 25 this week as they eliminate Miami, probably from the top 10. They're probably going to drop out of the top 10 after that terrible performance. Carson Beck no longer being looked at all for a Heisman Trophy after this. So Miami had nothing to worry about going into the ACC piece of their schedule. But wait, here comes Louisville, and they take out the number 2 team in the country at home. Miami was at home. So all we can say is bye to the Miami Hurricanes. Now, luckily for them, the ACC is snatchable and a terrible conference, and they really don't have anyone to worry about except for Georgia Tech. So they should still be okay. But wow, way to lay an egg. It's that Mario Cristobal formula, which is I'm going to get everyone's hopes up really high and then lose all the games we should win. Let's go on to Texas A&M. Now, they're still going to be in the top 5. But Texas A&M played a sad Arkansas team. Texas A&M, who has been great all season, goes up against a sad Arkansas team and lets Arkansas almost beat them. They should have run all over Arkansas. And instead, we get a 3-point game. We allow 42 points to the Arkansas Razorbacks. The Arkansas Razorbacks don't even have an offense. How are they scoring points? It doesn't make any sense. How does Texas A&M, one of the best teams in the country, one of the best looking teams in the country, allow that to happen? And I don't want to hear, well, anything could happen in the SEC. Shut up. The SEC is just as good as every other conference, and they're not better than any conference, okay? They just get that sweet limelight shined on top of them, all because the East Coast loves to talk about the SEC. The SEC is just as good as the other conferences, and they're not better, all right? And we're going to get to LSU here in just a second. But first, before we get to LSU, let's talk about Ole Miss. Lane, why do you got to make me look bad, Lane? Mr. Kiffin, I said that Ole Miss is the best team in the SEC, and instead you let a down Georgia team in Gunnar Stockton beat you. Learn how to coach defense, Lane Kiffin. You can't do anything with one side of the ball working. You can't. Like, your offense was on fire. 35 points, but you allowed 43. Learn how to coach defense, Lane. Learn how to recruit for defense, Lane. If you're not good at something, that's where you need to focus in the transfer portal. Those are the players you need to get. You need to get players that will help you overcome your weakness. And your weakness is you don't know how to coach defense. Because Georgia went in there and put up points, and Georgia does not have a great offense this year. To recap, Ole Miss, are you fake? I think so. Because you can't win with half of a team. You can't win with only offense. You're going to need to adapt and have a defense, because it's literally ridiculous for Ole Miss, who is the best team in the SEC this season, to lose to a down Georgia team. If you can't beat this Georgia team, good luck with any other Georgia team, because it's never going to happen. Gunnar Stockton is a nobody quarterback. You should never allow a nobody quarterback like Gunnar Stockton to do that to your top 4 football team. You just let Georgia back into it, and you might have knocked yourself out, because Alabama also took out a pretender in Tennessee. Tennessee was another team that we were all about. Avila looked amazing for Tennessee at quarterback, coming over from UCLA and what ended up being a swat for Imalava. And UCLA has looked fantastic ever since Deshaun Foster was fired. But Alabama is another team that is down this year. And these teams, these upstart SEC teams like a Tennessee, like an Ole Miss, still can't overcome that lore that comes along with playing a Georgia and an Alabama. And it's frankly sad. It's pathetic at this point, because it shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be losing to teams that you're better than. And let me tell you, Ole Miss and Tennessee are better than Georgia and Alabama, and they still can't beat them. And the only question left to ask is why? All right. And now, I said we were going to get to LSU, and we will right now, because wow, Brian Kelly's got to be gone. Like, how much leash are you going to give a Brian Kelly? He's got enough to hang himself, and he's hung himself multiple times over. How does this keep happening where the talent on LSU is absolutely insane. You have all this talent, all right? And you bring in Brian Kelly because this is going to be the guy to do it, and he fails time after time after time. And they are lost, but we're not going to go find them. Sorry, LSU. I'd like to see them disappear too. Vanderbilt, welcome to the party. Pavia, he needs to be considered for a Heisman Trophy. He needs to be at least in the running, because what he's been able to do at his size in that conference with Vanderbilt has to be taken into consideration when we're looking at the Heisman race. It has to, because he's ridiculously good. Beat Alabama list this last year, barely gets beat by them this year. And then he goes into goes into LSU and handles LSU. This is a player that absolutely should be considered for a Heisman Trophy, because watching him run fearless through that team is insane. And LSU has men on defense, and somehow Diego Pavia is still shouldering, trying to throw blocks, not successfully on the blocks, throwing dimes to his receivers. This guy is phenomenal, and he needs recognition on a national level. Diego Pavia deserves recognition on a national level. Finally, the last game we're going to talk about is goodbye out of the top 25 to USC. Lincoln Riley needs to go too. Okay? And I'm sick of this Nick Saban, sympathy for Franklin. Franklin couldn't beat a good team. I said it. You cannot be rewarded over and over and over again. Over and over and over again for simply beating bad teams. You can't be the king of the losers and get these multi-million dollar contracts at these big, huge institutions with great history and never do anything but beat SMU. Okay? It's enough. You can't just beat Purdue and go, well, I was really good at college. No, you were shit because you had all the talent in the world and you couldn't actually beat any good teams. You went in there and usually beat Northwestern, but not this year, Franklin. So enough with this sympathy for Franklin, okay? He's fine. He's got millions and millions of dollars and he's going to get another job. And he had a massive buyout. Okay, college football is going to be just fine. The parity is awesome. I know I sound a certain way with my voice, but I am actually very into this season. I think it has absolutely been phenomenal. All right, let's go on to the NFL. We're only going to talk about a few games here. First game we got to talk about is the Old Man River Showdown. Cincinnati against Pittsburgh. And how about Aaron Rodgers still got something in that arm? He definitely had to ice it, but I think he threw a 75-yard pass, which is absolutely crazy. Definitely ice going on that arm after the game. And who would have thought, Jake Browning, that if you just throw the ball up to Jamar Chase and to T. Higgins, you might win the game? Who would have thought that? Because that's all Joe Flacco did. He said, I'm going to target Jamar Chase 30 times. And out of those 30 times, he's going to make me look great. And he did. Jamar Chase made Joe Flacco look smart. And T. Higgins made Jalen Ramsey look old after he went up over him to catch a game-winning touchdown. This game turned back the hands of time, and we got to see two Super Bowl winning quarterbacks go at it on unrecognizable teams for the two quarterbacks. And it's insane to me that the Steelers lost, but I love it because it introduces something into this division that I didn't think we were going to see, which is a little bit of parity. And maybe Joe Flacco can hold it down until Joe Burrow gets back, because that's his only job. Hold it down until Joe Burrow gets back. Help us at least sniff the playoffs. If you can get us close, Joe Burrow can take us home. And that might be true, because if you can beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are the only team worth watching in that division, who are the only team who have any business winning a game in that division, maybe, just maybe, you can tread water long enough to get Joe Burrow back and make some noise in the playoffs. Because the Buffalo Bills let me down. Like I said last week, there's no reason why they shouldn't make their way into the Super Bowl this year. Well, now the Kansas City Chiefs are back. You let them back into this. Way to go, AFC. Cincinnati might just get back. Who knows? Buffalo doesn't look like they can handle anything at this point in time. So maybe it is time for Cincinnati to make a run. Who knows? Who knows? Can they make another run here? All right. The next game I want to talk about, I want to explore. Let's just shout out Drake May, by the way. Drake May's playing out of his mind, but we don't need to talk about that game. What we want to talk about is the Eagles-Vikings. I think that the Vikings might be one of those mediocre teams that surprises people come playoff time, because make no mistake about it, they are a mediocre team. They are absolutely mediocre, and they've got Carson Wentz at the helm. And I don't know. I just think their coach is a genius, and he's able to take hay and spin it into gold, but they could not overcome the Philadelphia Eagles finding their offense. The Philadelphia Eagles finally discovered that they have all these awesome weapons, and they figured out how to use them this week, because, wow, their skill players are absolutely insanely talented, and somehow they just figured out how to use them. Jalen Hurts, he can throw. Okay, Jalen Hurts can actually throw the ball. Jalen Hurts was on fire that game. Jalen Hurts looked great. It was his best game in some time. And you know what? Finally, we got to see what that team is capable of. But please don't sleep on the Vikings, because after that offensive explosion, which is crazy to say that offensive explosion when they only put up 28 points, but the offense looked really, really good, the Vikings kept up with them. The Vikings were in that game. So I think we need to keep an eye on the Minnesota Vikings and say hats off to the Eagles for finally showing us what you were fully capable of. Last thing we need to do here today is say, wow, Indianapolis, I was wrong. And I apologize. I will capitulate at your feet, because the Indianapolis Colts are for real. The Indianapolis Colts are very good. Jim Harbaugh is not good, I think. I don't know what's going on out there in Los Angeles, but Jim Harbaugh has been sorry now for a while, and he has been humbled, because there is no reason that Los Angeles Chargers team with him at the helm should be 4-3. But wow, this Colts team, they're fun to watch. Daniel Jones, I'm sorry. I was not familiar with your game or what you were capable of, but Daniel Jones is on fire. Jonathan Taylor is back, leading all rushers. He was phenomenal to watch. Tyler Warren, great tight end, a ton of fun to watch. Alec Pierce, they got a deep threat in Alec Pierce. This Colts team is awesome, and I cannot wait to see what they're capable of. They are 6-1. They are leading the AFC. That defense is great. They are fun to watch. It's going to be a fun back half of the season as we enter the back half of this NFL season. It sucks that we are already there, but we are about to enter the back half of the NFL season after this Sunday. I am sad, but I am excited to see what this league is going to give us, what this league is going to put on the table for our NFL appetites, for our football appetites, because this season has been filled with parity, has been filled with I didn't see that coming, and has been filled with I thought that guy was better, and has been filled with wow, that guy is actually really, really good. Thank you so much for joining us each and every week, and we will see you next time.
Back to the block, I'm scamming. Back in the shop, I'm scamming. Get it off a dummy, I'm scamming. Always get money, I'm scamming.